Sports consultant and mentor. Today's conversation is just a straightforward conversation, um, just being completely honest. And this one might be, I guess you can say, a little controversial, but I mean, it's my perspective. If you don't agree, that's great because you should have your perspective. And I would love to hear your perspectives in the comment box. So let me know. Okay. So the topic is basically why club sports exist, right? There's a lot of reasons for it. I'm going to go through all the reasons that I think and how we could work with them, against them, for them, all those things. Okay. So first thing is back in the day, the process of sports was to, go to in the States was to do youth sports, high school, go to college, and then the pro. That was that process. You go to college to get the great level coaching to coach yourself to the next level to hopefully pro. Now it's not the same. It's not the same at all. Um, let's break down how it works, right? Typically, you have youth track and field. Youth track and field is ran by volunteers, parents, people who did the sport before. Um, yeah, that's kind of how it works, right? Mainly youth sports, not the club, but before club, you'll have the middle school, which again, you'll have volunteers supporting that, volunteers running that event. Then you go to high school, and in high school, you have your high school coach, which is typically a teacher, right? Um, Teacher will work full time, and then they would also be the track and field coach, and that person would coach that sport. Then you go to college, and now you're having a professional coach who coaches full time. Most college coaches just coach, and their day is filled up with coaching. So you would expect for that level to be at a higher level. Then pro is obviously an advanced level of the coaches. So that's the ideal frame. So now let's break down into what this means. This means when you are 10, 12, 14 years old, the building blocks of your sport are coming from a parent or a volunteer who doesn't get paid for this. Many times, a person who just knows something about running because they ran in high school or college or pro, or they have a child that's in that sport and that coach wants to coach their kid plus whoever else wants to be coached. The miss is that you're teaching the base fundamentals, and you're getting your first experience with track and field from a person who's just there to volunteer. So they're not going to give the same level of passion. They're not going to give the same level of resources, mainly because they may or may not have them, right? I look at a lot of club teams, and just the other day, I posted the video where, the coach didn't know how to get the athlete onto the board. It's very important, didn't know the steps. And so that's going to be passed down. So if you have a person who was taught by a volunteer and now they're volunteering and they're teaching athletes, they're just passing along this frustrating experience because it's just the base. And the issue with that is the kids who are learning for the first time don't know what they don't know. So they're just getting information that's leading them to a negative route, to a dead end, essentially, right? Then you have your high school coaches who are receiving a stipend, and stipend is just extra money for services rendered, right? And you have a full-time teacher, whether it's math, science, or whatever, English, who went to school for that subject. Maybe doesn't have any biomechanical training, maybe did sports, you know, um, but just spends their full workday in this space of teaching, and then goes to the track and is now coaching track and field. you're adding more hours onto your day. You are doing your normal work time period. And then so once track and field is in or out, sometimes coaches do or don't want to coach. But it's kind of like if I'm in a technical event, pole vault, throws, whatever else, sprints, being coached by a full-time teacher doesn't make as much sense to me, right? I would want to be coached by a person who has the most experience and knowledge and ability. Now, granted, there are a lot of coaches out there that are full-time teachers that are great, and there are coaches that have no idea what they're talking about, but they go and hire some of the best coaches in their fields so that their team still does well, right? There's many variations and variables of this, um, but this is a simple reality. Then you have the college coach who knows what he or she is doing, is coaching full time, but they still might not have that base of either majoring in kinesiology or certified in some sort. Um, let me actually cover this point right here. So I majored in communications. I was a certified personal trainer at 19, 20 years old, and I was applying biomechanical movements. I learned a very surface level of how the body works through my certification, right? Then through the years, I was applying these strategies and techniques and things that I was working on, things that I learned, things that worked, things that didn't. And then I went into kinesiology at Cal State LA, and they were saying the body moves like this. This is how it moves. And I was like, it makes sense, but when I apply these motions and movements, it it doesn't. But I'm being graded that this is how the body moves. And when I say it moves this other way also, or this way actually is more effective, the grade was no, that's not it. And I was like, I can't be in a class where I'm being told that this is how the body works when I'm physically applying this. So I would have clients that were losing 30 pounds in 3 months, 80 pounds in 8 months, and they were just off the chart. And I was like, why are they sitting down if they're working with me 3 times a week for 30 minutes? I need to get them to burn the most amount of calories and move the most to get them in shape. And I was getting those results, and I was a top trainer, all those things. And then I was sitting in the class, and they're like, "You must do this many sets, this many reps," and I was like, I don't think that's the recipe. So anyway, I got out of that major, got into communications, and was able to learn how to articulate what I was thinking and the images I had in my mind to my client or athlete, and they were able to execute those specific things. Then also through that time, I was working with thousands of athletes. Each camp that I was running for the national underclassmen, the camps that I run, it was 400 to 500 athletes each individual time. So it was like thousands of kids each month, right? And I got to see so many different types of athletes and try certain things to where when I started high school coaching, I had already been training. This was 2012. Uh, I had already been training for 12 years. I had already been working with athletes for 8 years. So when I came into the high school sector, I had already had the wins and losses already, tallied up. So having a specific certification doesn't mean that you're going to be a great coach, right? So that's where you get to college. There's a lot of college coaches that ran in college, so now they're coaching in college, right? Or they coached someone that was good and now they're coaching. That doesn't mean that they're the best coach. It just means that they have some experience. And then you decide whether that's good or bad, or successful or needed, based off of your experience with that. But um, yeah. So many times you'll have a great coach who eventually becomes a head coach, and now you have grad assistants or you have support, and doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the best coach there. Then when it goes to pro coaching, it's a weird mix because you might have just a program that has the resources so that pro athletes train there because of the resources. So now they have this great team of great athletes, but the reality is they're just there because that's the only space they can train in. Or you have situations where they are the best coach and athletes will flock from wherever to work with this coach because he or she is doing a great job. All these variables, right? And the reason why club coaches right, club programs exist is because what I just explained. The youth level, if you're being taught by a volunteer, there's a person that said, listen, I was volunteering for this and it takes my time, it takes my resources. I want to get paid for what I'm doing. The club coach says, I'm going to put together a program where I can express all my values, all of my philosophies to this, and also have my assistant coaches follow in line with that. So for me, for example, I have a youth club team, Leap Squad Track Club, right? And we do things my way. I have a specific philosophy, and my coaches follow that philosophy, and the results are able to be a lot more consistent. And I'm also a professional coach. So kids are getting world class coaching at the very beginning. So their very first introduction to track and field is coming from a person that coaches it, knows it, competed at a pro level, and has done this for many years. So now they're going to have a different experience than a person who's being taught by a mom or dad that's never ran at a high level before, right? So now you can see that there's going to be a different level of expectation when it comes down to the results. So now moving forward to high school, the next part of why club um, is there is because if you have a choice and you came from a high level club team, then you go into high school and you're dealing with a teacher that's a full time teacher. There's going to be a huge drop off. And then now it becomes it's a distraction. It's not as good. The quality, the resources aren't there. So now you have comparison. I have this high school teacher that does or doesn't know what he or she is talking about. And then I have a club coach who knows exactly everything about me. And so my first experience here was great. And then high school experience was like, why am I doing 4 events? I did 3 or 2 this time in this thing, and I made nationals. Now I'm doing 4 and I'm tired every single week, right? Or we have meets every Thursday and Saturday, and it's too much. So now that technically that's 3 track meets in one week, right? 4 track meets in 9 days. It's too much. I'm tired, right? Also, they just have us running. There's only 2 coaches for 150 athletes. Like these are also things that are there, right? You're only paying one sum for the season versus the club team. You might have paid one sum, or you might have paid monthly, right? So it just really the resources aren't there, right? So high school club, it's existing there because there's just more knowledge when it comes to the average, right? Then while you think about, okay, well, where's club in college? There isn't. There is no club for college, but now they're starting to become clubs for athletes that are in the college age range. So between U19 and 23, right? Premier Athletics is one that has this college range um, resource. And so what I'm getting at is club is very niche and very specific, and club is the higher tier of these sports. Okay. Middle school track, you have club. Club's a better experience when it comes down to performance and knowledge and resources. Okay. Um, if you're great at middle school track and then you join a club, you might not be as good. But if you come from club track and then do middle school track, you're going to be one of the best athletes that middle school has ever seen. Okay. If you come from club and you do high school, you're going to have more experience than most kids because if kids came from middle school, then to high school and never had a club experience, they're still new, right? Then at the college level, if you come from a great club team, you're going to have more experience, more knowledge, and resources had. So when you go to there, you're going to have a better choice of schools. You're going to have better opportunities because you have that resource. So what I'm getting at is the reason why club sports exist is a premium version and experience of the sport. And if you're not in a club, I'm not saying you're not going to excel, but what I will say is you need to find the coaches that are high level middle school, coaches that are high level high school, and then that'll put you into positions where you can then look at coaches and college programs that have high level there as well. But I will just be honest and say, if you're not in a club, you're missing out. You're missing out because um, the resources are just hands down different, right? Do your research on what club is best for you, and just there's just so much many more. There's so many more experiences that come along with being in a club. This goes for all sports. I'm not just saying track and field specifically, but all sports. When you're in a club, you're going to get a different version of what the sport entails. So make sure you find a club team around you that is great. I have a virtual team. So if you're not in the area, the virtual team still could benefit you. But yeah, so club sports exist because there are people that feel that they needed to be valued and they created their own thing. I myself felt that I need to create my own thing. I did, and I'm at where I'm at now because of that. And I've been able to provide resources for athletes all over the world because I created that outlet for them, and it's been club. And now I only coach club only, so I'm able to do a lot more with my time. I'm able to do a podcast like this, and I'm able to educate everyone that wants to be educated and have fun. So that's all I got to say. If you have your opinions, things like that, if you are a coach that feels that what I've said today offended you, please let me know. And we can talk about it. However, that's what I feel is my truth. And athletes, if you're watching this, I'm not saying your coach isn't good. What I am saying is compare all of your resources. Then once you have all of the information in front of you, you can then assess what is or isn't. All right.